This European semi-final picks edition of the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy picking for a chance to win 100x in NBA, MLB, MMA, NHL, golf and more. Sign up today at underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code PLGP to get a 100% deposit match. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Sunday, May the 5th. We are here to review the Premier League weekend, which finished about 2.5 hours ago, and get stuck immediately into the European semi-finals, Champions League, Europa League and Conference League, all conclude this week. Joining me is Mr. Barry Penaluna. Barry, how you doing?
I'm all right. I think I've resolved my problems there. As we came on, I was suffering terrible glare from that light up behind me, despite it being the same light that's there every single time. It's caused me no end of hassle, but we've got rid of the lines that were coming down. So, yes, that's resolved. And otherwise, I'm doing very well, Malcolm. Very well indeed. Great weekend for me.
Great weekend for Baz. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. The comment section was wondering why we were a couple of minutes late. People were claiming it was because I was doing my hair, but it wasn't. It was Barry's massive baldy canister that was causing the technical issues. Courtney Lee, Cree, Callum, Harry, all waiting for us to get started in the chat. We did have a good weekend, Baz. You particularly. I survived intact. You won. We've got loads to talk about as it happens. There wasn't much change, Baz, in the Prem this weekend. I had a little count up before. 6 favourites won. There was 2 draws, and the 2 draws were the games that looked like they were going to be draws. Everton, Luton, 2 closest together, and Brentford, Fulham. And then there was 1 underdog. Brighton turned over Villa today, one in slightly awkward circumstances. So other than that, it was all quite achievable. So there was nothing really in terms of eye catches or awful lot like that. But picks wise, like I say, I had a draw. I hit the Chelsea team total today. I hit my scorer. The Man City pick won. So I did okay. But it was your I think the highlight of the weekend, without question, Barry, was your Saturday. You smashed it, didn't you?
Yeah, I hit everything Saturday. So we started Friday, the Everton game, no good for me there. But Saturday, hit absolutely everything. All 5 came in at a 60-1 accumulator if you took all 5 of the Saturday picks. Or if you just took the early ones, the first 4 came in at 30, just over 30-1 as well. So yeah, Newcastle, we had the draw in the Fulham game. We had the overs in the Nottingham Forest game. Christ, what else happened? Arsenal handicap. And there must have been one other game. Man City win both halves, which had a little bit of a sweat because that was the last one for the 60-1 ACCA. Because I did back the 5. I always tend to do it on the Saturday, take all of my picks for that day. And I think it's the first time they've all came in. Had a bit of a sweat on. Man City cruised in the first half. And then Wolves went and got an early goal second half, didn't they? And I thought, here we go. But thankfully, Man City got there too. Won both halves. So brilliant on Saturday. Mixed bag today. I had Villa, obviously. I'd take them again if the game was played tomorrow. And the Liverpool game, kicking myself a little bit because just the shots. The shots is one thing we've been all over with Liverpool games.
Yeah, definitely.
I went with Spurs.
We talked about it, didn't we?
Well, I took it in the end. I mean, that's when it came to the game. I ended up taking the shots today. Spurs were never in it. Plus, I think it's fair to say we handicapped the game before we seen Spurs get beat off Chelsea on Thursday night as well, which was their 3rd defeat on the spin. Now 4 in a row. What was the other one today, Malcolm? You're going to have to remind me. It was the Chelsea game, wasn't it? I took Chelsea to score
yes,
both
I was
halves.
all over that.
Chelsea coming in really strong to finish the season off, so definitely on the radar. I think they could really make a push. Obviously, they're right behind us, right behind Man United. So definitely the ones to watch for the next few weeks in terms of nicking a European spot.
There is even bigger news this weekend, though, Barry. Trivia question for you. Middlesbrough, 1991. Sheffield United, 2008. What do you want to add to that, Barry? What do you add to the list for those two things?
Ipswich, 2024.
Burnley, 2024. Games that I've gone to and watched Newcastle United win away from home. Middlesbrough, 91. We smashed them that night. Liam O'Brien. 2008, Ryan Taylor free kick against Sheffield United. And 2024, yeah, I got a phone call on Friday morning, Baz. I was lying in bed with me coffee. My mate said, "What are you doing on Saturday?" Now, that's a loaded question because he could have been wanting me to do something shit. So I had to decide quickly whether to make up an excuse or say I was doing nothing. So I did say, "I don't think I'm doing anything." He said, "Do you want to go to Burnley?" Got 4 tickets. So me and Bob went. And yeah, brilliant. Had a great trip down. Really good, actually. Round the ground, the access and everything was brilliant. Got parked, no bother. Had a pint in the Oxford. I messaged Lee that I was having a pint in the Oxford. There's a little bar right opposite the ground, like as close as the Strawberry, but just dead empty. 2:00, no one in there. You could take your own food in. There's a burger van outside, so we had burger, a couple more beers. Got into the ground, obviously won comfortably with 3-0 up at half time. I think I messaged the lads at half time saying I'll still take a point. I'll settle for a point, even though we were 3-0 up. And that obviously probably the best away end I've been in, because I never get to stand and do the singing and clapping thing when we're 3 or 4-0 up, which I got to do. So yeah, brilliant. After the game, Gravesy, if you know, Gravesy did our Newcastle preview at the start of the season. TV's Pete Graves. He phoned us. He was in the corporate box. So we piled around there and he sneaked us into the corporate. So we had a couple of pints in the Burnley corporate boxes with all the miserable Burnley fans. That was fun. And yeah, then went home. Was home for about 9:30. Oh, and also, Baz, Bob and his little mate swiped a match ball. What about that?
Nice.
I mean, don't get away match and swipe a match ball. We left them in the stand and went for a pint. And when we come back, they stood there with a match ball. What is that? He's Longstaff in the kicking, just leathered one into the crowd. Bloke caught it, turned around, saw 2 little kids, so just gave it to the kids. And Bob just shoved it up his jumper. So that was the end of that. So the 2 birds have been arguing it. Bob brought it home. He brought it in last night. I got a message off the other kid's dad saying he was upset that Bob had it. So Bob took it to football this morning to show his mates. And then we've had to take it round to Jimmy so Jimmy can take it to show his mates tomorrow. But yeah, good day was had by all. So yeah, add that to the list, Baz. I'm a lucky charm now. 1 in a row. 1 in a row. I'm all the way back.
Well done. Well, going back to my answer, I think, right, that we congratulate Ipswich, who have secured promotion, so we'll be in next year's Premier League. Andrew Bevan, a friend of ours, is an Ipswich fan, so no doubt he will be making his pitch to be our Ipswich correspondent for next season. But yeah, good effort from them. Ipswich and Leicester, automatic promotion. Leeds missing out and into the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk about the Championship because, like I said, there wasn't many eye catches from the Premier League. It all went to form, really. So, yeah, last year was quite good fun. There was no support for Leeds in that Burnley pub in the Oxford that we went in. They were intent on, obviously, Blackburn getting relegated and Leeds not getting promoted. So they got half their wish.
I mean, everything I've seen on social media is absolutely everybody panning Leeds, including, bizarrely, was Huddersfield fans at the end of their game, having just been relegated, and they're singing about Leeds, blowing it. Like, I'm thinking, how? Just... pipe down. You've just been relegated out to League One, like. But here's an interesting one for you, Malcolm. Last season, so not this season, but last, Ipswich played Forest Green in League One.
Yes.
Fast forward 2 seasons, Ipswich will be in the Premier League, and Forest Green will now be non-league. That's a bit of a bizarre one, isn't it? Space of 2 seasons. They're going to be 4 divisions apart. with just one sort of year in between. It's crazy.
For a screen in a vegan pitch being booted out the league. Yeah, it was the 4 teams at the bottom who could have stayed up. All won yesterday, which was quite remarkable. I wanted to mention Birmingham City, Wayne Rooney. What was all that about? They appointed him. They were in 6th, weren't they, when they sacked John Eustace and appointed Wayne Rooney. So what a silly man Rooney is to think he's. I think we've talked about his hair as well. The hair situation, haven't we? I think because there's 3 types of people. People think, you see, there's people like me, Baz, with hair. There's people like you without hair. And that's fine. Absolutely fine. But there's people like Wayne Rooney who think if he has that hair transplant, it transfers him from your group into my group, but it doesn't. There's a 3rd group, Barry, people with that kind of hair. Because it doesn't look like normal hair. I don't know if you know Gary Poundland off Twitter. Gary Poundland yesterday described it as a deserted blue tits nest, which I thought was absolutely spot on. So you've just got to be aware that if you're considering getting that done at home, I think you'd look great with a Wayne Rooney, Barry. You should have a winner, go and spend it on a Wayne Rooney. But just be aware that it doesn't transfer you from Barry's group back into my group. You go into that group with Wayne Rooney and the blue tits deserted. So that was, and the stupid American owner. Now, I know lots of our listeners are American. No offense, people. Wayne's walking up the line shouting, "This is our house," right? Save that shit for your side of the ocean. If you want to walk up the line and shout something, shout, "Come on, you bunch of twats," or something. Just like something we'll respond to. So I'm not interested in that. And I did want to mention Sunderland, Barry, because their end of the season was genuinely hilarious. Do you know they scored 4 goals in the last 12 games? How's that even possible to be that shite?
I don't know. I seen a clip from a Sunderland fan. Did you see them? They look like, oh, you shared it actually. Look like Elton John.
Look like Elton John.
So if we can just get one quality player next year, we'll get promoted to the Premier League. That's all they need. Just one player.
I quote tweeted that with a really good Elton John pun. I thought I'd be viral. I thought I'd be presenting the One Show this time next week. It was so funny. And I got like 2 likes. I was so disappointed, Barry. I stayed up waiting for the virality to roll in. Absolute to like 2 likes. Awful.
Speaking of which, Malcolm, I did put a clip out on TikTok last night of all my winners. 15,000 views that got. Talking of going viral. And that pushed us over our 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We had a right boost from that. So about 30 new people joined us overnight, and we're now hit 1,000 subscribers. So thank you to everyone for that. Yeah, went a bit bonkers. People like it when we pick winners, Malcolm, it turns out.
Yeah, I know. Here's me
try that
thinking
more
a few knob jokes every week would get the subscribers. It turns out what we needed to do was pick winners.
You mentioned
Michael
no eye
the Eurovision show. Me and Nog, we did the Eurovision show live the other day. So a lot of people caught it live, but if you haven't, Barry's about to tell you when it's going to get published. When's it getting published, Barry?
Probably tomorrow, if I get a chance tomorrow.
Probably tomorrow if you're going to get a chance. It's outstanding.
I was having nothing to do with this, but suddenly I've got to publish this fucker. It was nothing to do with me, but we'll see. We'll get it out as quick as
it's very good. It's jam-packed with Og saying words like diaspora and like voting trends, where I just picked the 2 birds with the shortest skirts. So there's quite a range of selections to be had in there. But yeah, watch out for the Euro. That's next Saturday. Come on, we'll have a team bet on Wednesday or Thursday night. We will get involved.
Right, let's get back to the football. Football.
I've got tit list.
Well, we'll talk about the football first, and then we'll go tit list.
All right, go on then.
I've got a couple of things that have knocked me a little bit. Refereeing again. I'm just talking about the games I've seen, so there'll have been other shit that I haven't seen. What do you think of the ref in our game yesterday? He was shit, wasn't he?
Absolutely shit.
Like
I've got this written down, Baz.
He went through a phase of giving absolutely nothing for the most blatant fouls right in front of his face. He wasn't particularly biased in one way or the other. And then the booking for Callum Wilson. Wilson goes down under contact. There's contact, goes down, and instantly jumps to his feet. Ref stops it, dive, yellow card. Now, I'd be okay with that if that had ever happened before. But it doesn't happen. When is a player literally jumped on his feet within a second, he makes no appeal for a penalty whatsoever. He's down, he's up. And it was a yellow card. That was shite. And then the card for
Anderson.
Elliot
Yeah.
Anderson. He basically brushed the bloke's chin with his little finger. Stopped a great attack for us and got a yellow card for it. That was absolutely ridiculous as well. So he was crap. The Arsenal game. Now, Arsenal fans will think I'm getting stuck into them again, but I'm not. But the Havertz penalty, have you seen the Havertz penalty?
Yeah.
It's cheating. And it is. And it drives me mad, but it's not just Arsenal. Because we saw it the other week with Saka, and we both sat here and said it was a great decision from the ref not to buckle, not to give it, and for VAR not to get involved because he leaves his leg there. But if you're dragging your toe like that, it's not natural. You've made it happen. And I just think it's cheating.
Anthony Gordon can do it. Anthony Gordon's great at it. He does it a lot for us.
As I say, it's not having a go at Arsenal or, obviously Havertz and Saka are the two that have been recent, but Garnacho won one very recently, the same. Harvey Elliott did for Liverpool very recently. And it's just creeping more and more into it. And they do it because they get given every week. And I just think the Premier League's the worst place in the world for it at the moment in terms of players just not wanting to stay on their feet. I thought the Havertz one was a shocker, but it didn't surprise me in any way. And I just think it's the way the Premier League's going. It drives me mad seeing those ones given because there's absolutely nothing the keeper does. He has to come for the ball. He realizes he's not getting there, but then it doesn't matter what he does from that point. He can't extricate himself from the situation because Havertz will drag his foot, make a slightest bit of contact that wasn't going to be there if he just took his natural motion. So I don't like that. The foul given on Raya for that goal was soft as anything as well. Because there was an equal, if you looked at it from the sort of wider angle, there's a shove from an Arsenal defender on a Bournemouth player, which is a lot more contact. And it was just stupid.
In the same frame, exactly. That they're both watching. While he's nudging him. But
I mean, it was quite telling that one because even I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans on social media yesterday saying we got away with one there with that one. And to be fair, Bournemouth got away with one because I think it should have been a red card on Saka in the first half as well. I don't even think we're given a yellow card for that. But yeah, just the refereeing, just spoiling games over and over. Going back to our game, Isak misses a penalty. He just misses a penalty. That's it. There's nothing more to see. Yet we had to sit and wait for 2 minutes or 3 minutes to try and find out if he should take that penalty again. And there was nothing. Yeah. Within a second, they showed us the camera that showed the keeper's on his line. And then they took another 2 minutes to decide the keeper was on his line. Just crack on. There was no need for it. It's just killing it. It's doing my head in.
Yeah, I was going to mention it this week, but just not even VAR, just the standard of refereeing is absolutely dog shit. And you see, and this is part of an example of this, Barry, is you've just done about 4 minutes on it and haven't mentioned the worst decision of the weekend. What do you think the worst decision of the weekend is?
Well, I might not have seen it. I've only watched so many games.
First Man City penalty. Or Man City's penalty.
I haven't seen it. But
Jesus Christ.
I only tuned into that game for the second half. But I saw a lot of Forest fans getting involved saying it was basically the same as the one they didn't get the week before.
It's
precisely why.
It's absolutely horrible. Yeah, go and watch it. It's appalling. My tit list pick is carrying on that theme, Barry. And I think we've got to revisit Mark Clattenburg because he did leave his role at Nottingham Forest this week. What was any of that all about? And really, I think it's just the man himself to take that role in the first place tells you everything you need to know about him. I've told you I seen him once coming out to Durham Cricket Ground and he had a really tight shirt on, and that was it for me. That I instantly knew what sort of bloke he was. The tattoos, we've talked about all of that, but for him to take that role, to be such a peacock that you think you can have that job and have an effect, and then when he left the role, he said it's because he wants to carry on his career in football as an advisor to FIFA and UEFA and work at World Cups and all this high-level shit. And he thinks that it would undermine him carrying on at Forest. So even that's like, he's not taking ownership of the fact he's acted like a tit in taking it. So in the entire thing, the bloke's absolutely shameless. He'll be back as well. You'll see him. He'll be right up there in UEFA or FIFA soon. Like, he's absolutely shameless, Baz. I mean, is there room for him on the tip list? In front of possibly is Jordan Henderson old enough news now to go.
Who else? Who's on there at the moment?
Goldbridge has to stay.
Yeah.
Henderson, Michael Owen, Rio Ferdinand, Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta's eyebrows this week, by the way. As a society, are we just supposed to carry on like that and not mention his eyebrows? Are we just supposed to allow that to happen? That's not how society or community works. Ridiculous. Yeah, Henderson, Owen, or Ferdinand, I would suggest could go, but
Any of those three can come off for me.
right, we'll leave Henderson. I don't like Owen or Ferdinand. Henderson can go. Henderson's off. Jordan, you're in the clear, son. You are in the clear. Well done. You've done your time. You went to Saudi Arabia to enlighten everyone about the LGBTQ
Malcolm,
plus community.
Potentially in a position here where we're going to get to the end of the season without Klopp having made it onto the list. And that's an absolute travesty. Surely he should be on, really, because he did say the other day that 12:30 Saturday kickoffs are a crime against humanity. And that Amnesty International should have been called about the amount of times Liverpool have played at 12:30. And that's a contender for that sort of crap.
But you also said that he was such a tit that he's bigger than the tit list. Like, he really deserves his own award, especially now because he's going to leave us alone now for a bit. He shouldn't darken our door.
So we might be in the list after him in his
award, some sort of mega award that we can name after Jurgen Klopp. But yeah, we'll think of something for him. Right, I think that's all mine. No, I've got more stuff. Barry Championship, sorry. I listened back to the pick show, just to, like we did last week, League One and League Two, when we said we threw out Stockport. So the highlights were, I took Borough at 10-1, shite. You took Borough at 10-1, shite. We both took Ipswich, so top 6 at 5-2, plus 250, which was a nice price. So we got plus 250 against a much bigger price winner. But anyway, my relegation pick was Sheffield Wednesday, who survived late on at 7-2. Do you remember what yours was, Baz? Yes, he obviously does. Huddersfield Town. Barry picked it 3-1. So yeah, we did all right there, Baz. Like I say, that did inspire me to think we will have a lucky 15 show at the start of next season. We'll all fill in our slips live one night. Yeah. So that was the championship. Playoffs in full swing there. Bolton did a good job the other night. Got a good 3-1 away win at Barnsley, so that's a solid start. I think Donny get underway tomorrow night for the little 7-1 double we've got on Bolton and Doncaster. So yeah, we will cover the playoffs as well at some point. But European semi-finals in the offing. We'll get stuck into those after. Firstly, are you a hardcore baseball fan? Or just a degenerate sitting in an office looking for some afternoon action? I'm not reading this. Either way, you'll want to make sure you subscribe to the MLB Gambling Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Dreamy host on there. Absolute 10 out of 10. Underdog Fantasy, making the NBA playoffs tons more interesting. It's the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Play the pick'em game. As simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. You can make your entries all basketball or mix and match across your other favourite sports in up to 100 times your money. Tons of fun available in over 30 states, including California, Texas, and even Canada. And Underdog have just launched Champions, which is their player versus player format in Florida. Make sure you sign up with the code PLGP. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy promo code PLGP. Rightio. First game we will cover is Tuesday evening, Champions League semi-final. PSG take on Borussia Dortmund. PSG are 1-2, minus 200. The draw is Burlington Birdie, 100-30, plus 333. Dortmund are 11-2, plus 550. To qualify, PSG 4-6, minus 150. Dortmund are 11-10. This whole card, Baz, these 6 games, I didn't do very well last week in terms of results, but I think I was on the right lines in all of them. I think in 5 of the 6 games, the only one I got really wrong was Villa. I think in 5 of the 6 games, it's half time. I could have cashed out for more money. Like, I was in the right line. It just never landed. And we have said a myriad times that you've got to read the game correctly, and then you've got to select the right bet. And nothing quite happened. Dortmund won 1-0. And I don't really know how it was only 1-0. We actually watched the game live for an hour, didn't we, last week when we were recording? And if you listen back to the show, Baz, it's terrible listening. All we're doing is oohing and ahhing and umming for about 20 minutes of the show. It's not ideal. We'll have to think twice about doing that again. But I think 2-2 looked about right. I underestimated Dortmund earlier in the season. I think maybe a little bit of sour grapes, having watched them knock Newcastle out. And they've got better. They've improved steadily, especially as this competition's gone on. PSG are very, very short to turn this around. And I think justifiably, I do think over 90 minutes they'll win. How they never scored last week, I've got no idea. I think they were valued for at least 2 goals last week. But they've got 1 clean sheet and 7 in the league. They conceded both legs against Barcelona. They conceded against Dortmund. We've seen those Newcastle games. They conceded. We put 4 past them up here. I think PSG win, Baz. But like I say, I can't see them keeping a clean sheet either. So the bet is going to be PSG to win and both teams to score. I think PSG could nick it 2-1. So that's 13-8 plus 162. And I think they're going to win it in extra time. So it's a method of qualification. PSG after extra time is 15-2 plus 750. But the main play, Barry, PSG against Dortmund. Paris win, both teams to score 13-8 plus 162.
Yeah, you started off with a bet that gave me a chance, but then you ruined it at the end there. 4th time these two have faced off this season. Not been much between them in either occasion. One win each, 1 draw. And obviously the PSG victory was the home game. They won 2-0 in the group stage. So I can see why they're favourites for this one. I went in a bit thinking goals here. I took goals in the first leg. I was wrong with that. Well, there were plenty of chances, like you say. PSG could easily have had a couple in that one. So I thought about coming at this with a goals pick here, but I've decided otherwise. I do fancy both to get on the score sheet, like you've mentioned, though. PSG, no clean sheet in the last 7. So I do think Dortmund will score here. But I think that then gives them a great chance of getting through, or a live chance of getting through. And I like the Dortmund price to qualify here. I think Dortmund coming in with a 1-goal lead. And if you get your pick and we get to extra time, then again, my pick's still live, so I'll be all right with that. But I think Dortmund can qualify from this. As you say, they have grown into the competition. And I just don't think the two teams are miles apart. And I think Dortmund at 11-10 is the better value than PSG at 4-6 to qualify. So the pick for me, PSG v Dortmund, is Dortmund to qualify at 11-10 plus 110.
Okay, so we'll take the 2-1 PSG win, Baz. And then I'll allow Dortmund to nick it. And we will land at 1 bet each. Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, 3 p.m. Eastern time, is Real Madrid against Bayern Munich. Real are 11-13, minus 117. The draw 3-1, Bayern 14-5, plus 280 to qualify. 2-5, Real minus 250, and Bayern 7-4. Plus 175, Barry.
Yes, both teams played this weekend. Madrid won 3-0 in their game. Bayern lost 3-1 to Stuttgart. And at this point, I feel like Bayern are just going through the motions, really, in the league. So I'm happy to overlook this weekend's games. And I've been sort of banging the drum a little bit for Bayern in this competition in the last few games. And I feel inclined to do so again. I think they've got every chance here. What we saw over the 2 legs against Arsenal and in the first leg of this one shows us they've got enough quality to compete at the business end of this tournament. Despite having a poor season elsewhere, they've still got that quality there. They can still compete with these sort of teams. And I think they'll continue to be competitive in this one. And therefore, I'm drawn, like you've mentioned about sort of last week's picks, I'm drawn to the same thing I took last week, which was over 2.5 in both teams to score. I think Real Madrid, you can see why they'd be favourites to qualify from here. They'd be happy going back with a draw from Germany. They'll fancy themselves to see it out at home, but they conceded 3 at home to City at the Bernabeu. Leipzig got on the score sheet there in the round previous. So I think Bayern can definitely score here. It's unlikely that one will be enough for Bayern. I think Real Madrid have only been shut out once at home all season. So both teams to score was what I thought was a bit of a banker play for me. It's 4-7, though it's a bit short. So then I tag on the over 2.5. I'm going to take Real v Bayern to be over 2.5 goals and both teams to score at 5-6.
Well, with you, Baz, quite fancy Munich. I just said Madrid have got away with it a little bit. Well, not even a little bit. Like they clearly have. They haven't been the better side in both games against City, and I don't think they were the better side against Munich. But they do find a way. Like there's no question about that. They got the 3-3. They didn't have a shot on target after the 12th minute against Manchester City, and still managed to take it to penalties and get it done. They were 2-1 down, and for all the world, look, beat last week in Germany, get a penalty. I mean, the 2 goals come against the run and play from a mistake and then a late penalty. So they're just getting away with it. I think Munich have been really good. Munich impressed me a lot. They've got a lot of good attacking players. I think it's really tight. It's almost a coin toss, Baz. The tie's level going into it. So it's 7-4 Bayern to qualify. I think it's a great price. So yeah, Bayern to go through is going to be my pick at 7-4 plus 175.
Yeah, that's where I started, and then I bottled it. Just Madrid's home form and the fact, like you say, they always seem to get the job done. But I don't mind it. I just bottled it and took a bit of a what I think might be a bit of an easier way around it.
We were moving to the UEFA Europa League. Second leg games take place on Thursday. Both of these are 8 o'clock, 3 p.m. Eastern kickoffs. The first one is Atalanta taking on Marseille. Atalanta are 3-4 minus 133. The draw 14-5 plus 280. Marseille, Burlington Bertie 130 plus 333. To qualify, Atalanta 9-25 minus 227. And Marseille are 2-1 with the game poised at 1-1 from the first leg. I don't know if you remember, Barry, but Atalanta knocked Liverpool out in the last round. They've hammered them at Anfield. It was quite a shock result at the time, Barry. Atalanta beating Liverpool. It was 3-0, it was, when Atalanta beat Liverpool. Anyway, Atalanta have won 2 in a row now in the league. And the home record is really good. Considerably better than their away record as it happens. They've won 11 of 16 in Serie A. In this competition, they beat Sporting at home. They did lose to Liverpool at home in that tie. But A, Liverpool are good. And B, Atlanta just had to avoid getting humped, which they did quite comfortably, as it happens, after Liverpool scored early. Marseille didn't win an away game in this group at all, or so far in the knockout competition, Baz. In their home form, their domestic form, they've won 2 of 15 away in that league. Marseille might be rubbish. I'm just a straightforward pick on Atalanta. I was sweet on them last week. I thought they might get it done in France, but I think they led, actually. It was a game, yeah, it did. This was another game where I thought I was on for a winner. Atalanta were in the lead. Finished 1-1, but they're just about backable, Atalanta. 3-4, minus 133, Atalanta to beat Marseille.
Yeah, so I favoured Marseille last week in the first leg, but that was based purely on their home form. And as you mentioned, the away form is terrible, really struggling. No win in 5. I think they've lost 4 of the last 5 and just 1 win in 10. We know this Atlanta team will play on the front foot as well. And with the home crowd behind them, I do fancy Atlanta to get the job done. Like your pick a lot. I went somewhere slightly different. I mean, as you say, they've had good results, and you draw a sort of line through the Liverpool one because they'd won the first leg 3-0 at Anfield. Didn't really matter. I had a pick I wanted here. and I looked at it, and it's a price I like. It's Atlanta team total over 1.5 at 4-5. And again, it's just that Marseille home form. They've conceded 2 or more in 5 straight games away from home now. And in the previous rounds for Atalanta, in the previous rounds for Marseille, they conceded 2 or more away from home to Shakhtar, Valencia, Benfica. Nice straightforward one for me here. Atalanta to score 2 or more at 4-5.
Yeah, that's probably represents a little bit better value than mine, Baz, because if they do that, they're definitely going to win the game. I'm only really getting the Atalanta 1-0 win. But then again, the Italians do love a 1-0 win. Baz, Atlanta -1 for Harry in the chat. Next game then, Thursday, 8 o'clock, is the second leg between Bayer Leverkusen and Roma. Leverkusen 2-0 up from the first leg on 9-25, -277 to win this one. 3-1 the draw. Roma 11-2, +550 to qualify. Leverkusen are 50-1 on. Bosch -5,000. Roma out at 18-1. Baz, you're going to make a case for Roma at 18-1 here?
No. I did give Roma a chance last week. I thought the home form was good. I thought they might get something. I took both teams to score and failed there. I think the only thing that makes this one tricky is the scoreline. 2-0 to Leverkusen means it's near enough wrapped up. If they can get one more goal, I'd much rather it was a little bit closer, because I do fancy Leverkusen here, but you've just got that little bit of jeopardy when they're 2-0 ahead. You don't know how much they're going to sort of go for it. Leverkusen, we know they haven't lost all season, and at home they barely even draw. They drew last week against Stuttgart. Bearing in mind that's with the league already wrapped up. But prior to that, they'd won 9 in a row at home and 14 of the last 15 at home as well. And that includes results like a 3-0 win over Bayern Munich. So really, really solid at home. I'm just struggling to see a way back into this for Roma. I think if Leverkusen can get the first goal here, it will be game over, and Roma might fold. So it is a pick with a little bit of jeopardy, whether Leverkusen have that motivation to go for the jugular. But I think they'll win at home again, and I'm going to take them on the Asian handicap. It's -1. So it's a push if Leverkusen win by 1. I need Leverkusen to win by 2 to cash this as a winner. Pick for me, Leverkusen v Roma, is Leverkusen -1 on the Asian handicap at evens.
I mean, yeah, they had a great win in Rome, did Leverkusen. There's just no chinks in their armour, really. They are going to finish the job here. It's just a matter of how. Roma sitting in 5th. They're not in bad form. Their away form isn't great. And it's hard to know how they'll respond to being 2-0 down. If Leverkusen do score first, will they throw the towel in? Leverkusen did this against West Ham last time. And in the second leg, they just held West Ham at arm's length a little bit for large parts of that second leg with the lead, and then nicked it late on. I think this might follow a similar pattern, Baz. I don't see loads of goals. I just see maybe Leverkusen controlling the game. And like I say, if they do get in front, Roma, that might just be enough at 3-0 down for Roma to throw in the towel. Leverkusen could easily win 2-0, Baz, and we can both cash. But the under 2.5 plus money, it's odds against. So my pick, Leverkusen v Roma, is under 2.5 goals at 11-10, +110.
Just the one thing I'd mention, you talked about that West Ham game. The home leg for Leverkusen, I remember they only won 2-0, but they absolutely battered them. 33 shots on goal they had that day. West Ham had 1. And looking at the form for shots, they've had a few games like that in the Europa League. 33s and big numbers. So I might have a look at something like the Leverkusen shots potentially as well, even though we might think the game's done. Leverkusen shots is a good shout potentially, I think.
I would point out that West Ham are absolute dog shit.
That is true,
and yeah, probably slightly more vulnerable to a shot on goal than Roma. Right, this where we going. Are we in the next competition now? UEFA Conference League semi-finals. We've got an early kick-off here. Oh, Wednesday. We're going back in time, people. Set your clocks for 5:45 on Wednesday, 12:45 Eastern Time, between Club Bruges. Are you happy with Bruges, Baz, or should we go with the new popular term Brugge?
It's Bruges for me.
Bruges for you, old school, aren't you? Do you still call it the Charity Shield?
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's not change things.
It's
definitely
still
Bruges.
the Rumbelows Cup as well.
The Rumbelows Cup, yeah, the Milk Cup, 1985, and Clive Walker penalty for Norwich. 8-5, Club Bruges, plus 160. The draw 23-10, plus 230. Fiorentina, or 17-10, plus 170. To qualify, Bruges are 5-2, plus 250. And Fiorentina, 7-25, minus 357. This game finished 3-2 in the first leg. This was another game I thought I'd won in the first. I backed the draw. And there was a draw. There was drawn really late on. There was a red card, and Fiorentina nicked it 80 something. Like I say, 5 out of these 6 games, I think I was chinned in. And I think Bruges are the better team, Baz. I've had a look at this. I didn't fancy them to get beaten, Fiorentina. I think that red card done them in. The Fiorentina 7-2 on. It's far too short for them to qualify here. To 1 goal, I think Bruges can overturn at the very least a 1 goal deficit. And at that point, they're 5-2 to qualify. And that makes it a big price because they're going to be tied whether it goes in, whether or not Bruges could beat them by 2 quite easily. But I do think they'll beat them by at least 1, which means we're going extra time, penalties, whatever. And we're getting a 5-2 shot then in what's the toss of a coin. So my pick here, Baz, is Club Bruges to qualify at 5-2 against Fiorentina.
I've had a bit of a cop out with the Conference League, same as I did last week. I've just put it in as a little double, Malcolm.
Totally. You got 6 games, you lazy get.
So I can go. I can tell you what I've got for me double, and you can finish off for your Villa pick.
Now you've spoiled it, haven't you? Ruined it.
I just don't. I don't pay much attention to the Conference League because it's usually on at the same time as the Europa. But I think both games are still in play. I think Villa won't necessarily consider themselves dead despite being 4-2 down, and they really don't have anything to lose. I think they'll have a go. And I think they can afford to do so. With Spurs losing again today, Villa have pretty much wrapped up the top 4 in the league now. So I think they will have a go at Olympiacos. And I think we could have quite an open game there. And in this one, 3-2 in the first leg, all to play for. Bruges at home, chasing down a 1 goal deficit. I agree. I think Bruges can have a right good go at that. I took unders in this one last week and got that wrong. I took the overs in the Villa one and cashed that within about 20 minutes. This week, I'm just taking a simple over 2.5 goals double. I think both games will be quite open. And the double for over 2.5 goals in each of them is over 2.5 goals in each of the Conference League games is 2-1.
Harry is on my side, doesn't see Bruges losing. So the final game here is an interesting one. This is the one with a little bit of British involvement. 8 o'clock on Thursday now. We're back on Thursday. Olympiacos against Aston Villa. Olympiacos, right, I had them at 16-5 plus 320. They're now 14-5 plus 280. I'm guessing after Villa got turned over today, actually. So, yeah, Olympiacos have shortened up a little bit. The draw is 13-5 plus 260. And Villa were 5-6 and now out to 19-20. So minus 105 for Villa. Olympiacos won this 4-2. I had a feeling I'd buggered this up, guys. Do you remember I went in the betting shop and I had some cash and I went in 2 weeks ago and then I went back in last week. Well, I went back in again on Thursday to collect me money and put another bet on because I was going to win life-changing amount of money, wasn't I? Do you remember? Well, I fucked that. That's all good. So, but while I was in the shop, Barry, I did pick up the copy of the Racing Post and was just reading the back, and the bloke previewing the Olympiacos game made a great case for Olympiacos and totally and utterly put this shite to shame, which is why he works for the Racing Post. And me and you were sitting in our front room. And he was absolutely right. So before the game, I thought, I might have got this wrong here. And he was completely correct.
I bet he didn't pick 5 winners out of 5 yesterday, though.
I bet he didn't, Baz. Actually, no. You're right. I bet he didn't pinch the match ball from Burnley either. So yeah, I got that totally wrong last week. Completely and utterly wrong. That was the one that the process was miles off for me. But I think if you focus on Olympiacos' home results in Europe, they lost 3-2 to Freiburg. They only finished third in West Ham's group. They lost 4-1 at home to Maccabi Tel Aviv, Baz. And they touched Fenerbahce off 3-2. But they're definitely vulnerable at home. Villa is still a good side. I know that wasn't a great result. Today, I don't like to make it today. It was a weird performance. It took them a little while to wake up. In the second half, I thought Villa were going to nick it, actually, because Brighton never looked like scoring. And then did you see that penalty? I didn't think that was a penalty either. The referee just got that wrong. There was zero contact. And the VAR just didn't change it. It was bollocks. I mean, you look at that Aston Villa's 2-0 win at Arsenal, Baz. That form line there, like, it's hard to pick holes in the way Arsenal are playing at the moment. The Villa are alive, 5-2 to qualify. And I think they're worth a punt. I think Villa can get this 2-0. I've got a lot of games going to extra time here, Baz. There's going to be a lot of late drama for me to cash these tickets. Villa to qualify, 5-2 plus 250.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Villa game, actually, because you mentioned it at the start. I didn't watch the Villa game. I was watching the other one at the time. I watched the Chelsea game instead. You're saying you thought Villa would nick it. And I was looking at the stats during the game. Villa had 2 shots on goal the whole game. They had an XG of 0.06.
Yes.
Brighton were 2.5 XG. 15 shots on goal to 2. It looked to me like Brighton were all over them. But obviously, I didn't watch the game. So
I kind of were, but like in a toothless way. And then you could just see Villa. You just thought Villa were going to. And in fact, Villa did score. And it was disallowed for offside, a tiny half an inch. It had like 82nd minute winner written all over it. But Brighton definitely had most of the play, Baz. But, you know, as a football person, sometimes just the eye test looked like Villa were going to nick it 1-0. And until that shite penalty, I still think they might have done.
Okay. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for me?
Well, yeah, I thought you were saying things. Have you made your pick?
I've already given you my double. I'll give you a Conference League double. Over 2.5 goals.
Yeah. Good. I was listening really closely then, Baz, when you said that.
We'll edit that bit out for the podcast.
Will we? All right. Well, I don't think I've got anything else to talk about, Baz. I've got no goal scorers or exotic things. You?
No goal scorers or exotics. But something that cropped up the other day, Malcolm, I'm wondering if you remember a time. It's back to referees, but we're not getting stuck into the mist. Can you remember there was a time in the Premier League, or it might have even been like the old leagues back in the day, where when they told you who the referee was, they would always tell you where they were from and what their job was?
Yeah.
Didn't they? Why did we need to know what their job was? It's like we knew Howard Webb was a policeman from Rotherham. And you had, I always remember David Ellery was a housemaster from Harrow. And I don't know why we needed to know that, but little things. It was, there was a cartoon sketch thing in the Guardian the other day. I see it online. It's like it was about the referees anyway, and it was along that sort of theme. And I thought, why did we know that? It was a bit bizarre, wasn't it? Back in the day, we used to always know who the referees were.
If you ever, one of my favourite things, Baz, on a Saturday morning is to watch the big match revisited. It's absolutely great. Me and Bubble sit and watching, and it's like a different sport. It's totally alien to Bubble. I mean, the pitches are absolute shit. The football's shit, by the way. I think I've said this on the show before. I've watched like Trevor Bruggen and Glenn Hoddle, people who are portrayed as these absolute Rolls-Royce footballers. I've never seen Glenn Hoddle complete a pass, and it's not his fault. The pitches, it's a proper farmer's field. Like, it's fullbacks, just big diagonals. That's it. Everyone's heading the ball. I don't know how everyone's not died of concussion. Like, the ball's 4 kilograms. And yeah, they'll say today's referee is Mr. Barry Wilson. He's a milkman from Pontypridd. But the other thing they do, Baz, when they go back to the studio, or matey Barry Davis, or whoever it is, they'll read a letter. So we've got a letter here from Thomas McCartney from Dereham in Norfolk. Oh, sorry, but they read his full address out. So we're going to let you hear from Thomas McCourtney of number 3, Barry Street from Malcolm Town. And they'll give you his name and full address. And then he'll say something like, why are goalies so soft nowadays? I don't know why they wear gloves and jumpers and stuff. And it's something really old-fashioned like that. But it's one of the great things, Baz. But no, why did you think of
that? It was in there's a cartoon strip in the Guardian every week. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, right.
Squires, who the bloke's called. He does a cartoon strip about whatever's happened in football, and it's like a sort of tongue-in-cheek take, and it was all about referees this week, and that's what made me. It was talking about some world referees, and the job titles were mentioned, and I thought, why did they do that? David Squires. Look up David Squires in the Guardian. There was quite a good little
cartoon. The cartoon strip, the comic strip. It's just like a one-box thing, isn't it, normally?
Yeah.
You're getting some grief in the chat for being a Guardian reader, Baz, which is making us laugh. Do you still buy a newspaper?
No. Funny enough, it comes up there's a group chat that I have. Someone shares that article every week in a group chat, and it's normally quite amusing, some of it. So that's the only.
If you watch that Big Match Revisited, we could have endless chat on here. Like I saw a fan just come out the crowd the other day and get the ball and give it back to one of the players for a throw-in. It had gone out and come back in, but he just ran out about 10 yards onto the pitch, picked it up, and just gave it back to the bloke, and then just got back into the crowd. And just really funny things like that, stuff that's going on at the side of the pitch, like just the way people are dressed, or the little police cars, or just insane things. The advertising boardings are really funny, just really old-fashioned stuff. I am endlessly fascinated by the Big Match Revisited and if Newcastle are on, it's great as well, because you often don't know the score. It's just before my time, so you can watch it as live and see if we beat York City. The other thing they'll do, Baz, they'll say top of the first division today, Manchester City and Tottenham going for the league title. Our action starts in Division 3, where York City take on Hereford. And you think, why would imagine if Match of the Day started with, I just don't know why that would happen either. Literally, I've seen York City on there more than any other team. They love it. Baffling. Right.
And finally, Mark, I've got some continental football tomorrow for the kids' team.
Sorry, what?
Bit of continental. I mean, it's a European football podcast, so my girls under 14s team are playing some continental football of their own. We've got a game against the Dutch side tomorrow.
All
right. So the next town down have their twin city or their twin town from Netherlands, and they've invited them over for a football weekend. So there's this big football fun day down at Radcliffe-on-Trent, and they've invited Bingham. We've been invited down to go and play a game against their Dutch friends from VV Wiron. We're playing, so that'll be interesting.
That is interesting, yeah. But you don't fall into the trap of thinking their centre forward's good and signing them for your team, because they're invariably shite, Barry. Dutch centre forwards, they don't come across, mate. The form doesn't translate. So if you sign a 13-year-old Dutch bird, don't come crying to me in January when she's got no goals and no assists, and she can't get a kick and she's homesick, because I don't want to hear it. That is interesting. We had our last game today. We only had 8 players, 9 aside. Got beat 1-0. They all ran their little legs off in the long grass. It was horrible. But yeah, they got beat 1-0. A man short, which was a bit of a shame.
That time of year, isn't it, for the long grass? The councils stop mowing the lawns. Sophie had a game this morning, and we turned up, and there was just daisies, dandelions, everything. Playing in a proper field, like.
Very good. Okay, Baz, should we let the people go? Anything else? Bank holiday tomorrow? Forced family fun, is it? Or is that tomorrow football for you?
Yeah, football fun day, so we'll all be down there for that,
I've got the fecking in-laws again, Baz. Christ. Do you know what I mean? I'll get a decent feed out of it. That's the only positive. I'll get a decent feed, but apart from that, it's like the 13th labour of Hercules, trying to enjoy a couple of hours with those people. So yeah, send us thoughts and prayers to me tomorrow. Right, champion. Thanks, Baz. Thanks everyone in the chat. Well done on all those winning picks and dragging us to 1,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, go and do that as well. We'll happily take more. Back on Wednesday, Thursday, nobody knows. But yeah, in the meantime, good luck with all of your European picks. And until next time, we will see you down the road. Cheers.